Hello, I'm Justin Perkins. This is Talk Junkie, and this is the second time today I've recorded this podcast. I had a little issue, and it didn't work, so I had to do it all over again. I'm going to tell you this, it was amazing the first time. I wish you'd heard it, but you didn't, and it's nothing we can do about it now. And this time, it's just going to be what it's going to be. A little bit of a change in plans. I've done some things differently here. Like first of all, we'll address that Rona podcast I did. Some of you were satisfied with that. Some of you weren't. Just keep sending the mail. We'll figure out what we're going to do from there. That's basically the best I can do you for right now. I don't really know what else you want. But I want to try to give you what it is you want. I just got to kind of figure out what it is. The 80s movies one. By this point, everybody should have it, been able to download it and listen to it, even Apple Podcasts. I thought I'd figured out a way to maybe do something a little different and release things on Spreaker first, kind of like a trial thing. There's 3 people talking some stuff about some Patreon. Like, look, we're not going to do that. I don't have enough listeners. It's not. I'm not charging anybody for anything. But maybe a way to do specific things, release them early. I don't know. But those of you that were on Spreaker, and apparently it's more than I thought, you got the 80s movies, the summer movies one quicker than everybody else. But I got a lot of good responses to that, and a lot of, hey, you missed this, and hey, you should have done that. And, you know, a lot of those things. And a lot of people talking about summer blockbusters, them identifying those as summer movies because they were obviously released during the summer. So what I'm going to do is, instead of doing the comedians one I was going to do about 80s comedians and movies and things of that nature, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to let you send in emails because you people love to email, and that's awesome. And like it makes this 10 times more fun. So send in who your favorite comedic actor was of the 80s and the 90s. Let's do it like that, and maybe the modern one. And I'll see what I can use and what I end up doing the show over. And your favorite comedy of the 80s and 90s. And same way with stand-up and of today. Any answer besides Dave Chappelle for today is wrong. But that's okay. You can have wrong answers. Just send who it is you actually like. Don't let me influence you because there's a lot of people out there I like. Dave just happens to be the greatest of all time. But get that in, and we'll do that. And I'll give it a week or so to do that. And instead of doing that, when I do that, I'll go back. I'll kind of make that a combo episode. We'll talk about the comedies, and then we'll also kind of talk about some of the movies I missed when I was doing the summer movies. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to have a long, elaborate political breakdown of the motivations, the political motivations influencing the various parts of the coronavirus outbreak. That's actually not what we're going to do at all. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about The Last Dance involving Michael Jordan. I was a huge Bulls fan. I was a huge Michael Jordan fan. It's the only professional sport I've ever been obsessed with. And the only time I was able to be obsessed with it was while he was there. I extremely enjoyed watching Kobe after Jordan retired. Even though I wasn't a Lakers fan, I'll always be a Bulls fan. And I did watch the NBA from probably 1990 up until 2013, 2015, somewhere in there. From 92 until 2000... I would say 92 until 98, I was obsessed with Jordan and the Bulls and watching that. The problem is you remember things from a nostalgic view sometimes, and I've done this so many times. Like I remember, man, you remember that the Super Bowl when Montana, blah, blah, and then you go back and you watch it, and you're like, it was just a game. It wasn't even that great of a game. It was just a game. Or do you remember that race when McGrath? And I go back and watch it. I'm like, man, McGrath was that good, but his competition was horrible. And, or you know, whatever. Insert whatever. You know, very few things measure up. Basketball tends to do that for me for whatever reason. It does seem to measure up. But, I go back and look at, I would always talk to people, younger people, about those Knicks teams and those Detroit teams and even the Pacers teams, just how tough these teams were compared to now. And you go back and watch it, and that still holds true. Like, they're so much more aggressive and so much more physical and so much tougher and just so much more heart in those games than they are now. And that's something that rings true, But a lot of things you'll go back and look at, and you're disappointed when you go back and see it. And I think for a long time I didn't go back and look at Jordan, for that matter. For that reason. I was like, maybe it won't measure up. Then, this debate about LeBron being Jordan and the league being better than it used to be, that all came really, even though I'd watched LeBron play a lot, after I quit watching LeBron play. And I had the argument with somebody, and they're like, look, you're looking at this through nostalgia glasses. Go back and watch it. And as bad as I was afraid to, I did. And that's not the case. LeBron's not even Kobe. And Kobe is as close to Jordan as I've ever seen. I don't think LeBron's equivalent to most players in the game today. He's a freak athlete, and he's an extremely talented basketball player, but the heart and the desire and the ability is just not there. The athleticism is definitely there. He's definitely more athletic in a lot of ways than Jordan, but not. I mean, he's not a Pippen. He's a really good player for today's league, and today's league is not as good as it used to be. Like, that's something else that I thought. I mean, everything gets better. It has to get better. Everything does change and changes in a certain way, but not necessarily better. Defense is non-existent. Look, we could sit and do this breakdown. It's a matter of opinion. You don't have to agree with my opinion. You can have your opinion if you want. The people who have that opinion, I've never been able to have them show me anything to make me see it any other way. And I'm a contrarian. I'd like to see it another way. I'd like to be able to go, what, Jordan was overrated. I'd love to be able to do that. But I can't, because it's not really how I feel. I did watch this thing called The Last Dance. Something that I didn't watch when it was on ESPN. And I was like, for this reason, everybody was like, man, you watch this, you're going to hate Michael Jordan. Well, I adored Michael Jordan. I adored his heart and his commitment and his refusal to give up and lose. And I didn't want to hate Michael Jordan. And I think subconsciously I didn't watch this thing when it first came out because I didn't want to hate Michael Jordan. And everybody I talked to was like, hey, you watch this and Jordan's an asshole. You're going to hate, I'm sorry, Jordan was a and you're going to hate Jordan and just don't watch it. And he cusses a whole lot. A word's a word. I think that's ridiculous. I do what I do to make this friendly for everybody. So I watched it, and I'm on episode 7. And I wanted to wait till I was completely done. I don't know how many episodes there are. It's on Netflix right now. And I wanted to wait till I was done. But it impacted me a lot, and just the hatred for Michael after this. And I was heartbroken. I was like, man, it sucks when somebody douses your heroes, but it's important to know when your hero's a piece of crap. Unless they've left something out of the documentary, or there's something that I've not seen yet up into episode 7. All this has done is strengthened the way I feel about Michael Jordan. All this has done is made me like Michael Jordan more. I don't watch college basketball. It's never, even when I was obsessed with basketball and I was obsessed with the NBA, I could not make myself watch college basketball. If I'm going to spend my time watching something, if I'm going to spend my time watching racing, dirt bike racing, I never coached NASCAR. I just don't understand it. But if I was going to spend my time watching racing, I wanted to see Jeremy McGrath because he was the greatest. I didn't want to see the 125 race, the up-and-comers, and I didn't want to see the lower race circuits, the enduro cross and arena cross. I want to see motocross, and I want to see supercross, and I want to see McGrath. And as much as I love McGrath and feel like, to me he'll always be the GOAT, Carmichael equaled McGrath or furthered McGrath. In my opinion, statistically, he only equaled McGrath. I've never understood that, how they keep putting him, but other than in one category. But the caliber of guys he was racing against. See, the caliber of guys racing motocross right now is so far above the caliber of guys who were racing against McGrath. And I looked at that through nostalgic glasses, and I went back and watched it, and no, I mean, McGrath of his prime would be a good racer today, probably. And I don't know that because it's my love. I think his drive and his desire and his ability would elevate him to be at the top of the level today, but he'd have to start with these guys today because these guys today are at a level he wasn't racing at. And he had no competition compared to, you got guys like Roczen, and I mean, everybody's a threat. Every company's a threat. Everybody has a rider that's a threat. And it got that way for a long time, where at one point in time it went from just being Jeremy and Emig really not being on Jeremy's level, to it being Jeremy and Carmichael. And Carmichael hadn't made it to his level yet. And then once he did make it, Jeremy was never able to get back. And then it was really just Carmichael, Bubba, and Chad Reed that were competing at that level. And then it was Bam Villapoto and Roczen. And I mean, it just, now there's so many different guys, and that sport's grown. And that's kind of what you expect to happen. But when I watch something, I want to watch the best. So I never could, as hard as I tried to watch the college game, to me, the 90s, late 80s and 90s NBA game, and even the early 2000s NBA game, you could see it was so much better than college. Like, they don't do it for money, they do it because they love it, blah, 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 blah. I really don't care what their motivation for doing it is. It's either better or it isn't, and it's not. It's ridiculous to compare the two, the top of the line, best professionals in the world, as compared to amateurs. You take the best college team, they can't beat the worst NBA team in the 90s. I don't even know if they could hang with them for a quarter. That's just, I mean, that's the fact of it. Now, with basketball, I feel that basketball has fell off some. And not all the way around. Guys are definitely more athletic than they used to be. Humans in general are more athletic than they used to be. Evolution does that to some degree, and culture can change that. And people are very athletic. But the game has been changed to cater to modern players, and it's a weaker game. And I don't know. We get into that either way. I prefer the old game, and I prefer those players, and I do not feel that anybody, no one will ever have the impact on the game that Michael Jordan's had. No one will probably, I mean, it would be hard for me to believe that anyone will ever have the public persona that Jordan had. But I watched this documentary, and the only reason I'm even doing a podcast about it is I'd heard so much about it, about how he's such a bad person and a mean person and a cruel person and a selfish person, and I didn't see any of that. And I think that may be where I differ from some people. I seen somebody who loved something and desired to be great at it. I've not done that with many things in my life. I don't think many people do. I've wanted to be good at things. And when I want to be good at those things, I feel like I should work hard and not have excuses. I've never found anything that I'm great at. And I don't know why. And I don't believe everybody can will themselves into being great at everything. But I believe somebody that's truly great can will themselves into being extraordinarily great. And that's what Jordan could do. He wasn't pleasant to be around with his teammates because he expected his teammates to play at his level. And he understood, not because he was conceited or he was a bad person, that his level was above theirs. Because it was so exponentially above theirs that it was obvious. And so he could either try to do everything himself, which he tried in the early beginnings, and it didn't work, or he could try to bring other people with him. He could attempt to elevate other players to his level. and found that he enjoyed that better. Excuse me. And that required sacrifice on his part and sacrifice on their part. And that required sacrificing being the good guy, sacrifice being right. Because to him, being great and being a winner and being a champion was more important than being loved or admired by his teammates. That's not wrong. That's his choice. And it's not a selfish choice or a greedy choice. That's a hard choice to make. It's an unadmirable place to be in. But he did it. And he did it without question or hesitation, without second-guessing himself. He gave in to being a bad person, quote, unquote, by some of his team, to being great, to striving for greatness. I can't do that. I can't do that because I'm not wired that way. I can't do that because I'm not great. I don't do that because I've never found the thing that my passion is that strong for. And I'm jealous of that. I'm jealous of him finding that thing that he was that just absolutely in love with, that nothing else mattered, you know. And the only thing close to that was his relationship with his father. And I watched this movie, this documentary, and there's even things, you know, people would be like, man, wait till you hear him talk about so-and-so, or wait till you hear him say this or say that. I respect his disrespect for Isaiah Thomas after the Pistons acted that way. And they go back and show the Celtics acting that way. And let me tell you, Larry Bird, my love for Larry Bird and his game, and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and Danny Ainge, that whole Celtics team is right up there with my love for the Bulls. You know, just slightly below. And if that's true and they walked off on the Pistons like that and did it, I have no respect for that whatsoever. If you lose with dignity and lose with some respect, but more than anything, take that and hold on to it. Take that and hold on to it and let it make you great, because Michael did that numerous times. I'm not giving people personal advice. I'm saying that's how I feel about it, because I wouldn't recommend it to people. When I was growing up, someone I thought a lot about caught someone not being very nice to me and put an end to it for that time and said, you got to stand up for yourself and you got to remember this. Not too long later, they caught me being really nice to this person that had been really mean to me. And this person is still not being very good to me, and they're family, and we're about the same age, and they're not treating me good. And this person that had originally stepped in set me down and said, you know, there's certain things in life you got to kind of hold on to. Kind of got to keep. You know, a lot of little kids, they collect baseball cards, and you know, that was big at that time. And, you know, he said, a lot of people save money, collect money. He said, there wasn't no baseball cards when I was little. And he said, I've always collected money every opportunity I've got. He said, but I'll tell you something else I collected. I collected just as hard as kids when I was younger collected stamps, and I collected just as hard as kids your age collect baseball cards. He said, I always collected a little bit of hate. Now, I think he maybe should have worded that better. And if you've ever read any of my books, especially the last one with the poem, The Cost of Carrying Hate, I'm not saying to collect your hate and keep it. But it is a methodology that I used for a long time. When someone would do wrong to me or someone would treat me bad, when someone would say, you know what, you just don't have what it takes to be a poet. The first book's probably a fluke, and I don't see you doing a second one. I done, in my opinion, I released what was a better book, a drastically better book, all the way around. I always did that. I always collected that little bit of injustice towards myself. And I saved that and I put it away. I didn't let it be hate and eat at me. I didn't let it be jealousy or greed or anything negative that tore me down. I let it be fuel. I let it be motivation. And I found that out at an early age from somebody I truly respected. And I've always employed that. I had a family member, and it's hard to do these without getting personal. I had a family member pass away, and all I can say is they were extremely, extremely close, bloodline close, on my mother's side. Years before they passed away, they did wrong against my grandfather's name, who I love tremendously, and they done wrong against my mother, and they done wrong against people I love and care about. And I looked this person in the eye, and I said, I'm done with you. You're dead to me from here on out. And it's a close enough relation that people thought I was a bad person for doing that. I never hated them. I never wished them ill will. I never hoped anything bad for them. I just wrote them out of my life. And when they were close to dying, they had someone reach out and try to contact us. And I made it very clear. They had died to me long ago. No need for them reaching out. And when they passed away, we never reconciled. I didn't go to the funeral. I have no ill will, no bad feelings, no guilt, no nothing about the situation. It's over and it's done. And there's another person still living that I have that same commitment to. That same commitment to not forget. See, I've always believed this saying wholeheartedly through and through. To forgive is to be righteous. To forget is to be foolish. I am not one, and I will never be the other. I don't want to be the fool that forgets all the trespasses upon me. I don't hold them in my heart and make them fester and eat me alive. But I find great value in remembering those things and keeping it in my head, as long as I can do it in a manner that doesn't negatively affect me. And I've seen this in Michael. I've seen this in why, he made up one time, and I don't go to this level. I couldn't do this. He made up one time that a player said something to him at the end of a game, and he come out and destroys him for the next. And they asked this player, he's like, I never said that. And they asked Jordan, he's like, no, he didn't say that, but I told myself in my mind that he said that. And that motivated me. It helped me, no matter how bad I hurt, no matter how tired I was, no matter how bad I needed to give up. I couldn't do it. I had to push forward and go on. I admire that. See, to be an extremely, extremely talented, important, and amazing individual athlete in a team sport, it takes something. It takes something that most people don't have. And that requires a different approach. But to be a winner, to not make excuses, to not grovel, to not beg, to not give in and bend to pressures, to be dominant at a level unmatched in the history of the game before you or since, and to be an absolute end-all, be-all winner despite many odds. Because it's easy to be a winner when you got Rodman and you got Pippen and you got great teams around you. It's not easy to be a winner when your foot's hurt and the team physically doesn't want to make the playoffs because they want a better draft pick, and they're only giving you 7 minutes a half and you have to wheel your team through it. When you're still a winner, then that's next level. And that can't be taught. That requires something in people that I don't have. That requires something in people that most people, that requires something in people that LeBron James doesn't have. That requires something in people that Kevin Durant doesn't have. That requires something in people that Carmelo Anthony didn't have. It requires something in people like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas and guys that just, there's no excuse for why you're that great. You're not physically built any different, but you're mentally built different. And no one was built any different than Michael Jordan. That was, or any more different than Michael Jordan. That's next level design. I quit having the Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate once I went back and rewatched this stuff, because I felt like I was wrong up until that point. And after that point, I realized two things. One, if you're not willing to see it, you're not going to see it. Same for me as for them. I'm not willing to see it because I can't see a proof, and I can't do it. I don't see it. And two, some people just want it. Some people, it's jealousy, it's dislike, and you're not going to change their mind. I've tried to change my own mind, and I can't. So why have the debate? It is what it is. And I just go on about it. And it's a debate that I really thought was more 50-50, but I don't know. It's not even a close debate to me anymore. It's not actually, in my opinion, worth even discussing. I do think Kobe Jordan is a discussion. Kobe is definitely the extension of Jordan. The question is, what would be the extension of Kobe? And I think the desire was for that to be LeBron James, and I think all the tools and gifts were there for it to be, but he lacks the ability to be a winner at all costs. And that's what I've seen out of Jordan in watching this documentary. And I'm going to finish it, and if I get enough mail, I'll do a follow-up and say, hey, this is what people had to say, and this is what I thought. I don't see this being a huge topic, but it's something to me I felt like was really important, and I really wanted to talk about. And I'm so excited just watching those old games and watching that footage that I couldn't even wait till it was over. I just wanted to talk about it. There's very few athletes that I've ever admired on that level. See, I've got people around me that I've talked to, and my wife was one for a long time. He's arrogant. And you're not an arrogant person. Why would you like an arrogant person? He is somewhat arrogant, but he's also very factual. And the things that he says that people can call arrogant are actually usually just factual statements. And I believe, it's just me, and there's some research to back it up out there. You can seek it out if you want, and it's fairly conclusive, best I can tell. People who perform at that level are almost always arrogant to a certain degree. That's a requirement. It's what gives them the ability to function, compete, and operate at that level. And that's why I'll never be at that level at things of that nature. I'm looking for the downside. A lot of people call him a bully, and I don't like bullies, and I don't like that. But the thing that I wasn't told is the players that call him bullies are turning right around and saying that was on the court, that was in practice, and that Jordan often apologized and Jordan often explained, if you can't take the pressure from me, from your teammate, how can you take the pressure from other people who don't have your best interest at heart? It was clearly him wanting to motivate and change. And if it only happened within the confines of talking about the game, if it didn't happen in personal life, B.J. Armstrong said some things, and then B.J. was talking about how they would go out and eat together and how they were friends. Unless something's left out, I don't understand that. If I was going into a fight camp and I needed to be ready for a mixed martial arts fight, and the gentleman that I train with at the gym, I've always frequented jiu-jitsu gym, I've always went through the chain reaction. If those guys were training me, how we train when we're doing jiu-jitsu and we're learning and we're being friends, that would be different than how say Coach Ryan would train me when we were working striking. He would be out to punish me and hurt me to some degree in some way, because that's what the person coming after me is there to do. And as hard and mean as he can be on me in that time to improve me, well, I can only get better from that. But I know that outside the confines of that training, he is my friend. And he's doing this to help me. He's doing this to make me better, because he reminds me in a lot of ways of that mentality. Do your best. Be your best. Work harder than everyone else and have no excuses. Those guys didn't have to play at that level. But if they weren't going to play at that level, they weren't going to be on a team of that level and that caliber. And that's just a trade-off you have to make. So, send me your hate mail today. And tell me how I'm wrong and LeBron's better and all that good jive. And basketball is so much harder now. And defense is something. Just give it all you got. I'll listen to it. I'll listen to anything. But if we get enough, we'll have a discussion about it. If we don't, it's done. It is what it is. But have a great day. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Give me some feedback on this episode. Tell me what you thought about this episode and kind of how you feel about it. And the most important thing is to not suck and to not die and to be good to people. And I guess eat your vegetables. I don't know. Do we eat vegetables anymore? I don't know what they say. But keep those emails coming. It's talkjunkie@gmail.com. My book's available. It's available at the Red Spotted Newt, READ. Red Spotted Newt in Hazard, Kentucky. You can get on Facebook and find them and order it, and they'll ship it to you anywhere you want in the world. And if she's out, we'll get her more. August 1st, it comes out on Amazon. My other book, Cold Kingdom, is available there as well, and it will be available on Amazon again coming August 1st. We had a signing come up, but the Comrade brochure, due to the pandemic, is reducing it back down to less than 10 people, I believe. So that's going to be a no-go unless I move states. Which, I've always been for, but my wife has always been against. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do the next one about, because I think I'm going to give it a little more time before we get the comedy emails in. To those of you who done the early thing with me on... because I don't even know if everybody's... I have to go back and look. I don't even know if everybody's got the summer movie podcast yet. I believe it's available everywhere. I've checked my downloads and see where all of it's available at and see who always heard it. But thank you a lot to those people who kind of through email we've communicated a little bit, and they've helped me out with some of this Spreaker stuff to see if I want to stay and some of the cool things I can do. I'm still looking at doing the live podcast, but this is something we've been talking about on email. So if you're not in part of the email conversation, you're not having this talk back and forth with me like some of these people are, I'm looking at possibly doing a live podcast, because Spreaker has the ability to do chat. The problem is timing and day of the week. Like, it doesn't seem like I can get more than 2 people to agree to the same time and the same day of the week. So I don't know. It is what it is. And all those people, I believe, have to be on Spreaker, and my listener base is not huge on Spreaker. But thank you to everybody that has helped me with this stuff here lately, helping me trying to work out the kinks. I promise this is a lot better when I recorded the first time, but you people didn't get to hear it. But it's no different than Jordan playing with the flu. I had to persevere. I had to come through and drop that triple-double. But stay alive, people.